Check 1, 2. I think we just go with these. I don't think we mess with these guys.
You don't think we'll need to for sound purposes? How does the wind sound in it?
Can't hear it.
Can't hear it?
Uh-uh.
Look at me. Like, just put a wall
Look
up.
at you. Wow.
I'm thinking about you and your sound.
All right. Now let us sync it all up. I think it will. Let us sync it.
Is my microphone okay like this?
Yeah, just try and maintain that same distance right there.
Okay.
All right, we're going to be talking to this monitor right up here. Oh, all right. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our very first outdoor podcast, Q&A, campfire confession, the whole deal. The whole deal. We've got birds chirping. We've got the wind blowing in the trees. We're sitting here next to the 4Runner with the 270 awning popped out. Sarah was a genius and said, hey, why don't we rub the walls from the Darchie awning and see if they fit? And it doesn't really fit, but it'll allow
work.
us to get a bit of a wind block up here. So,
and even sunblock too.
Yeah, because that's where the sun's headed right now. Mm-hmm. So good call, babe.
Thanks.
Let's get this thing kicked off. First of all, just want to say thank you to our sponsors. That's right. You guys, our patrons, the ones who keep us going day in and day out. We're going to cover a little bit more about that in some of the questions that you guys had. But thank you guys for being there for us, especially in this time when, you know, it's a bit of a struggle for creators and everyone, no doubt. But especially with like YouTube and stuff really cutting into our revenue and stuff. Having you guys on board definitely gives us a bit more confidence that we can keep this thing going. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And speaking of patrons, those are the questions that we're gonna start with tonight. But first of all, tonight. Did I say tonight?
You did say tonight because you're so used to doing it at nighttime.
I'm so used to doing this at night.
And we had thought about doing it like at sunset.
Yeah.
But then you would have been up all night putting this together and getting it uploaded.
We're cutting it close. We're cutting this episode pretty doggone close. We're out of adventure material. We're just out. Like we went and pulled all the archive videos, did some of the lost episode series, and showed you guys some pretty cute footage of Caroline when she was
little Caroline.
Little Caroline.
I get so distracted when we do the premieres. You're like, "Hello, are you going to say anything?" I'm like, "Sorry." I'm a little distracted.
Yeah, so as you guys know, we're still in the middle of the whole shelter-in-place COVID fiasco right now, and we're ready to get back out there.
Yeah.
It's been a killer. I'm thinking that maybe next week, New Mexico will finally be officially open again, and we'll be able to get out there and get some fresh, exciting content for you guys, and just to get out and enjoy the wilderness again. It's
right.
We're fortunate, you know, we are in the middle of 640 something acres right now, and having that separation has really been nice from, you know, neighbors and things, and we can get out and go for walks and stuff. But it's tough when you know what you really want to be doing right now and you can't get out there and get after it. So excited for that.
Well, and we're wrapping up school.
Yep. So you're
I'm wrapping up my school, and Caroline, this will be her last academic week.
Mm-hmm. So I guess just to start things off, if you guys haven't been listening to the podcast on all the different podcast apps and stuff, you know, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, you might not be aware of some of the in-depth ongoing things that have been discussed over there. So let me give you a quick rundown. If you remember early in season 2, we bought the RV, and there was the whole RV debacle. And we've had a lot of people asking about that. That situation is still ongoing. It's been over a year now, and we still haven't had a court date yet. So we're working towards a resolution. We feel very confident with the evidence that we have. And that's about all we can say about the whole thing, because even if it rules in our favor, there's probably going to be clauses that we can't disclose things about the case. So that is what it is. It's been quite the struggle, but we're getting through it. And so from that whole issue, we had to move back to New Mexico, and I had to go back to work for a while. So I went to work for like 6-7 months at my old job site, and just scrimped and saved and got to the point to where we can make those RV payments and stuff for a pretty good period.
Yeah, comfortably.
And we were very fortunate. We have some good friends here in New Mexico that allowed us to rent their double wide trailer out here on the ranch,
Mm-hmm.
and got a really good deal on that. So we've been able to really keep our costs down
Very
and
minimal.
survive and move forward, and got to go on a lot of adventures here in our old stomping grounds, New Mexico. And so it's been really good. It's like
It
coming
has.
home for
Yeah,
us.
it's felt like coming home.
So that's why we're here in New Mexico. We're still based out of this area. As far as future plans, some of you guys have asked, what's next for us. I don't think that we can answer that very concrete, nor can anyone at this point. We
Right.
had some big plans.
We had some huge plans.
So we had planned on going to.
Well, do you want to tell yet? Just in case we get to do it next year.
Well, yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and we have already talked about it. To some
That's
degree.
true.
So you might know, we originally were planning to go to Scotland, and that was the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd even worked out a deal with a company called Scotland Overland, and they rent fully outfitted rigs similar to what we did in Costa Rica. And we were all psyched about that. And then one of our patrons that we've been working with through this whole process said, hey, we're looking at going to Norway to cross the Arctic Circle again, go up to Nordkapp in the Arctic Ocean there. Would you guys like to join us? And we're like,
Okay.
sign us up. And so this little plan of international travel just snowballed into this trip to Norway, and then down through Sweden, and then spending some time in the UK, and then kind of crescendoing into a finale there in Scotland for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's all up in the air at this point, obviously. So we're hoping some of it still works out. I don't think we're going to be able to encompass all of it, but that's okay. We've got
We'll stay flexible.
a lot of really good plans and stuff for Southwest travel. And to be honest, I think that's what a lot of our viewer base wants to see, because it gives them some achievable ideas and places to travel and things like that. But we are also wanting to expand our experiences and see new countries from a 4-wheel drive vehicle as well. So it'll come around. It'll come around eventually. We also have some tentative plans for 2021. Do you want to share a little bit about what we might be doing in early 21?
Looks like we may potentially be doing Australia and New Zealand with some friends.
Yeah.
So
if you remember the couple from the Dempster Highway that we rescued from the swamp the tundra swamp, they're from Australia, obviously, and they've invited us to come down and use one of their rigs. They have a Defender 130, I think, with one of his custom camping setups built onto it. This thing is just incredible. He actually used to run a company that sold these truck bed things that went on the back of the Defenders and opened up in this amazing tent structure. And so, we're going to get to go down there and play with that at some point in time, and then work our way on over to New Zealand as well. So lots of really cool international plans, but the more realistic thing, what we're shooting for right now, is a lot of intense Southwest travel. And we would really like to work our way
back into Canada.
Back up into Canada. BC has been calling us ever since we left, and Vancouver Island and stuff like that. So pretty doggone excited about any prospect that works out at this point. I mean, just to get up to Lincoln National Forest right now would be
we'd be pretty happy with that.
Pretty doggone nice. Not gonna lie. So that's pretty much the rundown. Like I said, Sarah's been going to school while we've been here in New Mexico. The idea was that while I was working my job, how could she be productive and do some things that she was excited about? And she's been going to school. Well, why don't you tell them what you've been going to school for?
Well, I've been going to school for my cosmetology associate's degree, and then I'll go and take the boards exam and get my licensure. So it's just something that I've always wanted to do ever since I was a little kid, and it just seemed like the right opportunity to be able to just kind of dive in and quickly get it done.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and also when we got in the situation with the RV, it was like, well, it would be great if she had some type of income
career
possibilities as well, so that if something happened to me, we wouldn't just be totally sunk.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm a good waitress, but I'm almost 32. I don't want a waitress.
I understand. Well, this gives you a chance to be creative too.
Yes, absolutely.
So anyhow, that should bring you up to speed. I hope
Mhm.
that's kind of got it all covered. We're going to dive into things about the 4Runner, things about the GX, things about the Beast, and as we go through these questions. So let's get right into it. Let's start with questions from our patrons. All right, first question from John Simmons. What drone are you using for aerial shots? We are currently using the Mavic 2 Pro with the Hasselblad sensor on it. That has been an absolute game changer. That sensor allows you to adjust aperture. So you might have noticed some like really crisp low light shots. That was just because the thing, I think it's a 1-inch sensor on it, if I remember correctly. It allows you to really crank up that aperture and that ISO and get some decent shots in low light situations. And it's just changed the game. And a big thing about that is I've really learned a lot about ND filters. So getting that frame rate to the right sequence so that it has this natural motion blur has been a big thing this year, and we'll get into the camera gear as we go a little bit further on. But having that in conjunction with some snap-on ND filters has allowed us to get just some truly incredible shots, and it's been a great drone. It's done a really good job. Okay, so the next question is actually from two patrons. Ben Horn and Micah Howard want to know how about our thoughts on camper-style trailer versus the turtleback-style trailer, and would we consider having one instead of the turtleback? And Mike is saying this is something he wants to know about as well. Basically, hard-sided shelter versus soft-sided shelter when it comes to wind, rain, security.
So like a hard sleep-in?
Yeah, so basically rooftop tent on a trailer versus a hard-sided sleep-in trailer. And that's really something that we went through several times as we tried to decide what we wanted to sleep in. And I mean, I'll let you answer what your thoughts are, but for me, the teardrops that I looked at and climbed in when we were in that decision process, it just felt claustrophobic. It felt like another RV, and there wasn't this connection to the outdoors that you would get when you sleep in a tent. And we were really enjoying our time in our Coleman Dome tent. And so we just really wanted the security of being up off the ground. Mm-hmm. That was always a hard thing for me in New Mexico because it's open range and you always have these cattle and stuff coming through camp. And I was concerned, if the cattle's got to fighting, which happens, I grew up on a farm, or something spooks them and they just charge through camp. I didn't feel comfortable being on the ground. And now there's actually black bears in Lincoln National Forest as well. So that definitely got me motivated to get up and off the ground. And once we did, we really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. But boy, there's been some rough times, as you saw in some of the recent videos in Death Valley, when that wind is whipping, when it's above 20 miles an hour, that tent gets to flapping pretty hard. And you can do things to reduce the sound. You can take the rain fly off. But if that's going to annoy you, it might not be, the best choice for you. But yeah, there's also a level of claustrophobia that comes with sleeping inside a teardrop. You got to kind of wiggle your way in and stick your feet down, or vice versa. And you lose a ton of storage when you do that. So all your extra things are going to have to go on top of your bed, and then that's going to all have to come out before bedtime. And if it's not waterproof, or if it's muddy, or if it's raining, now you've just introduced a whole bunch of other stuff that has to go back on your bed, wet or muddy. So those were just kind of things that we processed through. But I'm not going to lie, there's been times when it's been rainy and cold and windy where it'd be like really nice to climb inside. And I think this all comes back to everything's a trade-off. You just have to kind of pick the one thing that best fits what you want to do.
Yeah. So
I don't know, what's your thoughts on a hard-sided versus rooftop tent?
I think now that I have lived full-time in it, I would prefer, if we full-time again, to find a sleep-in option. A hard-sided, yeah. Okay. Something that I could cook a little bit in, so I'm not always out in the weather, is I think what I would prefer. If I had my druthers,
right?
Right. just because I enjoy the turtleback. I like it. I love sleeping in our tent. But yeah, when it's super cold or it's super windy, the rain doesn't bother me so much. We've never had like a soaked tent or
No.
blankets or pillows or anything. So I don't feel like that's necessarily been an issue per se, but definitely the cold and the wind would be really nice to be able to have a little more inside space along with even some cooking space. So
Yeah.
safety wise, because we were off the ground, I never felt concerned, and we were always super bear aware.
Mm-hmm.
So that that hasn't been an issue. Now, maybe for some people, they would prefer or feel safer in a hard-sided situation. But I feel like if you're just super bear aware and careful, either one is fine.
Yeah.
So
That is the trade-off would be to cook inside and sleep inside is the size goes up exponentially. And so what you would find quickly is that it's not a trailer that you can necessarily take
on
with
the trails.
you
You're right.
everywhere that you go. And that's okay. That's a trade-off. I have to say, of like that style trailer, the one that's stood out to me has been, I think it's called the Mantis. It's by Taxa Trailers or something like that. It's not, I mean, they call it an off-road trailer, but the suspension and stuff and the wheel size and just the ruggedness is not going to stand up to, the abuse of washboards and rough trails. But the comforts that it has are pretty substantial. You cook inside, it's got a pop-up. So it does have a canvas wall on that pop-up portion, but it's not going to be as loud as a rooftop tent.
Canvas, yeah.
And then you can all sleep inside. So that one's always been impressive to me. I think it was actually designed by an ex-NASA engineer, and you can tell because there's a lot of aircraft inspired bracketry and things like that inside. So yeah, that one's always stood out to me. That might be an option for someone who's looking for, more of a hard-roaded based trailer they can base camp out of and then take off to the rough stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Okay, patron Doug Britton says, what was the inspiration for your branding? Love the bear and mountain backed by the topo lines. So when we were in Death Valley the first time back in 2017, we were talking about, let's come up with a logo. We'd already started our social media and really wanted something that, expressed who we were and what we do and stuff. And there's a mountain just outside of Death Valley. It's actually south of Death Valley. It's called Eagle Mountain. And if you notice, the original design has a GPS track in the shape of a mountain. That profile is from Eagle Mountain. It's not exactly precise. We had to stretch it a little bit just because it was, a little bit of a different shape. But that's where that came from. And then the bear is just, I don't know, it's always been
something you've liked.
Yeah, I like it. It's a cool animal. It's something that you don't see much of in the wilderness. And so, yeah, it was really cool to just kind of take that idea and play with it. And it's taken us several years to get to this point. But, we took the whole topo line idea and just applied it to the bear design, and it popped. I mean, it just, the first time I saw that, Claire Dowie, actually, she's the one who did the final design on that. I was like, okay, I think we've got something now. And, we're working on incorporating that into more of the graphics on the website, on T-shirts. You saw the Mama Bear T-shirt that just freaking blew up.
Yeah.
We couldn't keep them in stock, and now we got some more coming. But anyhow, that's kind of how the whole thing got started. Just a few things that we were inspired by in our travels.
So, wanted to use.
Yeah. All right. Patron Darren Pemberton asks, what kinds of processes do you have in place to help ensure you don't burn out and begin to resent the very thing you created? Do you want to answer that?
Do you want me to answer that?
Because I feel like I could say what I think, and then Sarah's going to just call BS and shoot me down.
The answer is no.
No.
We do not have any processes in place to prevent burnout.
Well, and that's...
Except for, I feel like when you are feeling burnout, or if I'm feeling burnout, we'll like go to the other and like kind of start talking about it. And I can sense when you're burnout, or you'll just straight up be like, there, Sarah, I'm almost to burnout.
Right.
And then what ends up happening is our conversation evolves into, why do we do this? Why did we choose? Like always going back to our why. And that kind of reignites the energy and the excitement for what we do.
That's
and
true.
why we do it.
That's true. And generally, an email comes along from someone who's been through an incredibly difficult time in their life, and they share how our stories and adventures have inspired them and helped them to carry on. And so that definitely feeds into the motivation. The other piece of it, and people, I know that from the outside looking in, this seems like it's always fun and
easy,
rainbows and unicorns and stuff, and it's a lot of daggum work.
Yeah.
It really is a lot of work, and
it's a lot of creativity and planning.
Yeah.
And
and I've never been caught up. I have never been to a position in my creative process where I said, "Hey,
wow, I'm ahead.
I can take a break."
Yeah. No.
But the thing is like we still got to eat. We still got to keep these vehicles rolling and fuel coming. And you might have a job that you're burnt out on constantly, like I was back when I was working what they call a real job.
But you still went to work.
But I still went to work, even when it sucked. And so
Right.
sometimes you just got to buckle down and keep going and hope for a better day and a better attitude when you get done with the next video. And so it's definitely a different experience when it comes to a career. And you have to constantly be creative. Now I have come up with some things that I'm doing now that I hadn't done for 2 years, and I'm actually taking 1 day off per week. Now, granted, it's not 100% off. I'm still doing social media and things like that, but
Yeah, but you're not in your office from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. or longer.
Or longer. So I've tried to give my mind a bit of a break, and that has helped tremendously. I think it's made me better at my creativity. I think the videos are better. Just to have that psychological break sometime.
And I think you've gotten a little bit more organized too.
Yeah.
And I'll work on this for this time, and then I'll hop over here, and then I'll go back if I didn't finish it or something. And I think also something too that I think we both have gotten better at too is being specific about expectations. For example, I told Kevin this year, I don't want to be camping for my birthday or our anniversary, because we have the last couple of years. And so I told him, I was like, my expectation this year is that I want to do something different for my birthday and our anniversary. And I feel like that has helped, both of us, or he'll be like, hey, I want to film this, but I need you involved. You need to be thinking about this, and that, and that. How do you want to say it? Kind of thing. And I think by laying our expectations out first has allowed for more creativity, for also accomplishment, actually getting things done. Too, not just, hey, what a great idea, and then not doing anything about it.
That's true. Yeah, much more intentional about the path forward.
Yeah.
In the past,
treating it as a job.
That's true. And in the past, we just had gobs and gobs of adventure footage that needed to be done, and so it was easy to jump in and pull that. And now that backlog is gone.
Right.
And so it's definitely a lot more planning. Okay, let's go to this area and let's do this recipe, and maybe we try and pick another activity while we're out there. In the meantime, attempting to make sure that we're still enjoying it as a family, because that's why we did this. And so yeah, it is a new balance, because it truly is our source of income and our sustenance. So we're still working on. There's not a perfect answer to that.
Right.
And you talk to different YouTubers, you'll get a different answer every time. But it's just a lot of dang work, and it's a good thing that I enjoy most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, patron Hungers, what skid plates do you use? Right now, we still have the factory beaten and bashed skid plates on the 4Runner. Currently over in Phoenix, we have a pallet full of gear from Victory 4x4 that has some skids. So the GX will be starting out with an official set of aluminum skid plates from Victory 4x4. We're just trying to get over there.
Yeah.
Mike and Rachel Gascamp, a big question about mechanical mods to silver. What have you done to make her run like you want? Snorkel, re-gear, etc. And what, if anything, is left on your list? What would you change or do differently to the mods that you have done? Silver is pretty much taken care of. I don't really have any big plans at this point. We're always open to testing new things for various companies when they come out with a new product, and so you might see some things get swapped in and swapped out. I would eventually probably go with a full-size front bumper, but the Southern Style Off-Road Slimline has been great. It's probably saved us quite a bit of fuel economy as well, just being a lightweight solution to carry our winch with and give us recovery points. So that would purely be a vanity improvement at this point. So something that I probably would rethink next go around, and this kind of changes with time, and I would probably not jump into the rear bumper upgrade quite so quickly. It's a very, very heavy, very, very expensive modification. It does get the spare tire into a more accessible location, and initially that's about it. If you're doing some crazy off-road stuff, if you're doing some rock crawling and you're starting to hit your factory bumper, then sure, you might look at upgrading that. But I would say that if I was going to do it again, I might look at going with a lighter weight, lower profile rear bumper, just to reduce the weight on that rear axle. I think that's probably the reason why those rear wheel bearings went out so quick. Was it was pretty doggone heavy back there. So yeah, that'd be the only thing that I would either delay or change just a bit. So patron Eric Dober, he's asking about a removable teardrop pod for a utility trailer, so that you can still use the trailer as a multi-purpose, so like a utility trailer for around the house and stuff. So I think that's a cool idea. I've seen a handful of home-built trailers where they've actually put a pop-up camper in the back, like a four-wheel. Is it four-wheel campers? I've seen those where they just put them in the back. That might be an option for you when you are building a trailer. Number one consideration, though, if you're going to take it off-road, suspension. Think long and hard about the suspension that you're going to use on that. Be ready to air down those tires and have good tires that you can air down. And that'll save you a lot of heartache in the long run, making sure that you're not damaging components inside that trailer. But I think it's a cool concept. I think that could be really handy for a lot of folks.
Yeah, that sounds really neat.
Yeah. Patron Charlie Toner, tips on building a subscriber base for a YouTube channel. I know the dollar model has changed drastically in the last year. Trying to get a close friends channel built up. They are just under 700 subscribers. I think that if there was a magic bullet, you'd be a millionaire at this point.
We would too.
It's very difficult, and especially getting into YouTube right now with everyone being at home or being laid off, and they're just having fun posting stuff on YouTube. So there's a plethora of content out there. That's why part of the reason why our revenue is down over 70% since this all started from YouTube. So that makes it very difficult to be motivated to get into it. Really, the key to growing your channel is creating quality content that is true to who you are. People can tell when it's fake.
Yeah.
You just want to go out there and have a great time, number one, and that can be carried over into the videos that you're creating. And that's really what draws people in. Being honest, being genuine, and always improving. You can go and look at other channels that you admire that have large followers and try and replicate some of the techniques and things that they're doing. But there's no magic bullet. We're just incredibly stunned and grateful to be where we are now. It wasn't, I wouldn't say anything special that we did. We just told our story, and it got picked up, and the algorithms sprang to life and allowed us this incredible opportunity. So be consistent, stay after it. That's the other piece of it, is just being consistent.
Stay after it, be authentic.
That's it. Don't take any time off.
Yeah.
Landy Andy 4x4 says, how do you make a story to film, or just film and make a story with the footage you have? And how do you keep a positive mental attitude? You know, I don't have a hard set formula. I do have a shot list that I made a long time ago, and I rarely look at it. I just kind of go from the hip, which is something that I'm working on changing. I'm trying to be more intentional as we go forward. But really, it comes down to trying to observe what is happening in the moment and ask yourself, is this part of the story? Is this something that I need to capture? I think a lot of different filmmakers and YouTubers have their different techniques, and you just kind of have to find the one that fits you the most. Checklists are really good just to make sure you don't get back after a big trip and you're like,
I forgot to get that shot.
I didn't get a single drone shot, or I didn't get any cooking, or that was a really great time around the campfire and I didn't get up and get my my camera. So just being aware of what's happening and envisioning that story when you get back to the edit booth and trying to decide, okay, do I need to be using the camera right now? Do I need to get a piece of this? Yeah, you just kind of have to be cognizant of.
Well, and I think also too, in your case, you've always been a natural storyteller. Like, it's funny how when you tell stories about when you were a kid, you know, you can visualize what's happening. And I see Caroline doing that often now too. When she's telling her stories, she'll be like, so there was this horse and it was yellow and it was prancing through this beautiful green field. You know, like she's picking up on, this is how Dad tells his stories. I like that. I'm going to try it. And so I feel like for you, naturally, that it comes naturally to you. Whereas for me, when I did my girls' trip, I had to think real hard about, like, okay, what are we going to do? How should I film this? Like, I had to think about what I wanted my story to be to make sure I didn't miss something.
Yeah.
And then even after I got home and was looking at the footage, I was like, there's nothing here. We can't tell anything with this. And then Kev's like, no, we got it. Tick, 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 tick. And I was like, oh, this is entertaining, you know? So, I mean, I think some of it for you is natural talent, but I think that also can be cultivated, like you said, by create a shot list.
Yeah.
Decide when you go on this trip, hey, I'm going on a hiking trip with my kid. You know, tell us how you got there.
Right.
Tell us how it was on the trail.
Right.
When you get back, you know, show the celebratory sharing of a Coca-Cola or an icy or something.
Sure.
You know, like that has a lot of potential.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you'll find your own style. That's the other thing. If you're just a carbon copy of someone else, people will pick up on that too.
Yeah.
So find your style, tell your story.
Yeah.
Patron Steve Sykes, what is the best way we can support you? Patreon, merch. What gives you the highest percentage of money I spend? Also, when are you guys going to do a Patreon trail ride? The best way to support us is on Patreon. Even if it's just $5 a month. Knowing that that's coming in consistently, steadily allows us to better budget where we're going with things. The merch, we get a percentage of the sales. You know, we have this new deal now with overlandstyle.com. We kind of stepped away from having that store as just our gear and kind of created its own little entity there, with the ability to bring in other creators and have a place where you can get, you know, multiple different creator patches and stuff, or stickers and t-shirts in one spot. And by pooling our resources, now these creators who didn't even have t-shirts available for their viewers have that opportunity. And it opens up another income stream for them on top of YouTube, which has been, you know, kind of punishing us a bit lately. So yeah, Patreon #1. The merch is still excellent. I love the fact that you guys are wearing the gear and marketing for us.
Yeah.
And just, so yeah, all of it's great.
As for a Patreon trip, we actually had one on the docket.
We did.
Was
that this weekend?
No, it was going to be in April.
Yeah.
I think the weekend after Easter was when it was supposed to be. So.
Yeah, we postponed
We tried.
It's postponed indefinitely, and that is a challenging thing because, you know, there's a lot of legality that comes into that. We're not tour guides. We're
Right.
not trail guides. There can be some legal issues if we say, hey, we're going on a trail ride. This is a Lifestyle Overland trail ride. And we get out there and someone
Gets
flips
hurt.
their rig or something.
Mhm.
And now, oh, well, I was with this organization and they said, come on, like, unfortunately, in this day and age, we have to think about those types of things. And so if we do anything, it'll just be a hangout. Hey, we're going to be camping over there. If you guys want to come and camp too, we're
That's
over
up to
there.
you.
Like, very informal.
Yes.
So, but no, we're definitely wanting to do some of that. But the whole world's on its head at this point when it comes to gatherings. And so we're going to give it a bit more runtime until we decide when the next one's going to happen. But good question. All right, so patron Chase Cruz asks, best local brew on your travels?
Well, I mean, I don't remember the names of any of them.
I do. I know my favorite.
Oh.
My favorite was Hoodoo Brewery in Fairbanks, where we met Jeff Cooper.
Oh.
Yeah, he's the guy that saved our bacon and
They
brought us that
did.
12-point socket like an hour and a half up the road
Yeah, that was so nice.
when we were fixing the icons. So,
But yeah, they had great beer.
and the food trucks that would come in there,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
We had Indian pizza or Indian flatbread that one night.
Yeah.
And then like fish and chips another night. Because
Yeah,
we went twice.
it was delicious. It was incredible.
That was good.
And
But I remember I had some good stuff in like, as we were making our way north, like in Utah,
right.
Idaho. I tried to always buy locally brewed stuff.
Yeah, that was fun. Getting a 6-pack of something of a local flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, the Kolsch that they had up there at Hoodoo,
Oh, yeah, that was really good.
so refreshing, so delicious.
Man, that
So-
makes me want one right now.
right.
Yeah.
So, any other one that really stands out? What was the one that we had the day we crossed into Canada?
I liked a lot of the Alaska Brewing Company
Okay, yeah,
beers. And but you can actually buy those anywhere now.
sure,
But those were good.
Yeah.
I have a picture of it because I shamelessly took a selfie.
a shelfie.
Yeah. Let's see. Good old LTE
There you go.
coming in hot. Oh, it's not going to let me load it. Nope. It's on my Instagram.
So
It's a picture of me holding it like this.
the internet is basically non-existent here. So, anyhow,
Maybe you can pop up a picture.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Patron Jonathan Custer, with all your electrical gear in silver and the trailer to keep charged, have you found the need to upgrade your alternator? No. With all the solar that we have on board, the DC to DC charger that we have going to the auxiliary battery on silver, and the fact there's like 210 amp hours in the trailer itself, we're pretty much set. There were times in Alaska when it rained for 3 weeks straight and we didn't have solar.
Yeah, we got a little low.
And we were stationary for multiple days that it got low because I was editing and laptop's just a power hog. But no, the alternator itself has not been upgraded. And I researched that quite a bit and decided I would rather rely on the reliability of a Toyota alternator than digging in there and putting something else. So that was kind of my thought process. Yeah. Dan and Michelle Luna, how are you getting those great multi-view shots in the cabin of silver, and what gear are you using to get those shots? I've tried using the GoPro, but sometimes too much stabilization takes away from the feel of actual experience. Most of those shots are actually from our GH5. We use the Manfrotto tripods, and there's a quick connect plate that we put on all of the cameras. And I actually found a receiver for those plates that I bolted to the top of the stereo section of the 4Runner. And so most of those in-cab shots are from that one position. For action cams, we're using the DJI Osmo action cams because the GoPros that we have used have been absolute headaches. And these guys have been rock solid. So a lot of the shots that you're seeing in season 2 are coming from those guys as well. But yeah, there you go. Patron William Dawson says, Amanda wants to know what your all-time favorite road trip song is that your family sings along to. So what is our favorite road trip song that we sing along to?
That we sing along to?
We sing along to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We have an eclectic selection. But
When Caroline was littler, I would say Ryan Bingham's Tell My Mama.
Tell My Mother I Miss Her So.
Yeah, Tell My Mother I Miss Her So.
Which is a great Mother's Day song.
Yes.
Yeah. Coming up. this Sunday. So there was that. That was always a classic.
I also think family and friends, like what we
Yeah.
played in our northern videos, them and Upstate. I feel like we sang a lot. To
Yeah,
those.
that's
I
true.
actually turned Upstate on in the car the other day when Caroline went and I went to run errands, and like I had something else on, and she told me, she's like, "Mom, do you like this?" And I was like, "You don't?" She's like, "Nope." And so I changed it to that, and we were singing along to it. So
I would say the one that stands out to me is Imagine Dragons.
oh, uh-huh.
And what's the name of the song? Just a young gun with a quick fuse. I was uptight.
I don't remember.
Wanna let
I don't know
loose.
the names of the songs. I'm the worst at that.
Anyhow, it's that Imagine Dragons.
An ex-music major.
And
and
sorry
I
for
still-
singing. So sorry for singing. Craig W., our patron that we actually went along with on the Death Valley trip that just came out. He was the guy in the tan TRD.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever ended up on a dead-end road with no room to turn around with the trailer? What do you do?
You back it out real slow.
We've not had any devastating dead ends.
Yeah, we've always found, or if we did, we did back out a little bit until we found a place where we could kind of turn around.
Yeah, and the thing about the turtleback is, and if you play with it enough, you can crank that thing to more than 90 degrees. So, you make a hard left, and then you pull forward, then you put it in reverse, make a hard right, and back into the trailer, which is counterintuitive. Get that thing in a V shape,
Yeah.
and then cut back in it. And there's been 2 or 3 times where we've done that. I remember one particular in British Columbia, we had to do that in a real tight trail. Worst case scenario, though, you disconnect the trailer, you turn the vehicle around, then you grab the nose of the trailer
And spin
whip
it around.
around.
Yeah, like the two of us can manhandle that
Oh,
trailer.
yeah. Well, the turtleback, the nose weight on that thing is about 150 pounds. So, and if you open the tailgate, you can reduce that as well. You can put that spare tire out there as a counterbalance. And I've many times moved around by myself. No problems.
Yeah. You're so strong.
So manly. Patron Marshall Dutton. I think we all appreciate your storytelling.
Ooh.
I think we all appreciate your storytelling and hard work, but do you ever just leave the cameras at home and go out for just a family/camping road trip? Do you feel the need to escape your job and have some family downtime away from creating multiple platforms of content?
No. I have tried too.
Yeah.
But the answer is no.
No, that's true. It's been difficult. I mean, it would be one thing if I could get enough backlog of content that I felt safe going out and doing that. But I've just been so busy in the recent history with getting our overlandstyle.com website stuff set up. That's been very time consuming. Then I also manage 6 other social media accounts in the industry that are not associated with Lifestyle Overland. And so there's a significant amount of my time that's devoted to these 2 other jobs. And so when we get out, I am trying to tell a story. But I will say, I enjoy it, and I have a hard time not filming.
Not doing something.
I have a hard it's hard for me to just sit and relax and do nothing. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. Probably something that we need to work on and try.
Not we. I'm great at it. He's often told me, he's like, I'm very jealous of how good you are at not doing anything. I'm like, you're welcome. Learn from me. Watch me.
Yeah, watch this.
Yes.
So, but no, good point. I do need to get better at that. Maybe one day when we get caught up, we'll get there.
Yeah.
All right, Patreon. Elsewhere Overland, what are your plans now that COVID-19 has upended everything? Still heading to Scotland this summer? Wait and see. We already answered this earlier on. But yeah, we're just playing it by ear. The COVID thing is just, yeah. The good news is we're very mobile. We can drop and go whenever we need to. We don't have very deep roots here. Our living room furniture is what we're sitting in
right now. Our camp chairs.
So yeah.
And we've been here a year now.
Yeah.
And we've not bought
That's crazy.
furniture. Our dining room table is folding chairs and a plastic folding table.
Yeah.
With a tablecloth.
And you've seen my studio. That's just a black tablecloth over a plastic
folding table.
folding table.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're very, very mobile here. So,
We could pack our house up in probably 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
Or one day if we just non-stopped it.
We could probably get everything out in the case of a fire right now, to be honest with you.
Maybe not the kitchen stuff. I love to cook, so I pulled a lot of kitchen stuff out of storage.
You pulled a lot of stuff out of storage, yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Patron Tim and Michelle Davis, a.k.a. Dinosaur Overland. What do y'all's families think of your unusual occupation?
Well, actually, my parents are Patreon supporters. One of our upper level tiered ones. I think it's a way for them to keep tabs. I mean, we talk every day, but mom doesn't sometimes, and dad even doesn't sometimes like know our trips. And so when they watch our YouTube videos, mom has commented multiple times. She's like, I am glad that I don't know about this in the moment. She's like, I'm glad I'm watching this after you've already gotten home and I know you're safe.
Yeah.
So I think they think it's neat. And even like my siblings and stuff, I think they think it's great. They don't get it. Like I had a conversation with my sister one time where she goes, like the drive-by shots, she goes, you have to turn around and go back and get them, don't you? I said, yeah, I do. She's like, wow, that's time consuming. I'm like, yeah, we look like real idiots on the road, like driving by.
Yeah, I'm sure we're entertaining to watch from afar.
Yeah.
But we've gotten pretty good at it. It helps have another driver. I really appreciate the work that goes into folks like Venture Forward and Swell Runner and Primal Outdoors. Like those guys are running by themselves for the most part and getting out and setting up that camera and running back to the vehicle and driving past it.
Yeah, because when you've gone on trips without me, you're like, dang, Sarah, I need a driver at least.
I mean, I still get a heck of a workout, but I can't imagine what it would be like, without Sarah. It makes it a lot easier. So, yeah.
But yeah, so what do you think? How do you think your family thinks about our?
I don't know. I think they find it very entertaining. I think that they've always been encouraging and they do watch. And my brothers, like especially like Kyle, who does all of our music, he's in a very creative space as well. So I think it's kind of they've gotten used to our craziness and it's just part of life at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they are supportive. Absolutely. So.
I think they do ask like, how much longer are you doing this? I think we all get that kind of question too.
Yeah, and I mean that's a question we ask ourselves.
Yeah,
and
we definitely reevaluate
what it
every
looks
year.
like, and there's actually a question in this that'll touch on that here in just a minute.
Okay.
So. All right, next question from patron Sam Chun or Chun. I apologize if I don't pronounce these right. How much of a difference is there between the KO2s and KM3s on the road? Off-road, I'm sure the KM3s are a lot more capable, but I will likely be traveling 8+ hours on pavement to get to the spots that I want to visit. There is a slight difference in noise with the KM3s, and a lot of that depends on the pressure that they're running at and the temperature outside. Some days, I think it's about the same.
I do too.
But colder days, lower pressures, it starts to talk to you just a little bit.
Yeah.
But the KO2s have been absolutely incredible. We've put, I think, 5 sets in total on the 4Runner. Maybe it's just 4. And tomorrow, they're coming off, and we're going with a new tire. So stay tuned for that surprise. Dun, dun, dun. They're not BFGs, by the way. Patron Don K, have you ever weighed your 4Runner with it loaded up for a trip and your family inside? Or are you afraid to?
No, we sure did.
We did. We did that before we left
north.
for Alaska because we wanted to check our GVWR and things like that. And so I think at the time, everything combined, fully wet with 48 gallons of water. I think we had 25 extra gallons of fuel on top of what was in the 4Runner, and all parties on board. We came in at 10,087 pounds combined with the trailer. We're significantly lighter than that now. We've really revisited our gear. There were a lot of things that we didn't use that have now come out of the 4Runner. So I haven't weighed it recently, but I would say that we're probably in the 6,200 pound range right now, maybe a little bit less. All right, we got a bunch of questions from patron Yoshi Sonoda. And again, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing these right. So question number 1, Having just started learning DaVinci Resolve 16, I believe you said you switched to it from Adobe Premiere. Do you use the basic version or Studio? I am using DaVinci Resolve Studio to edit our videos now, and it was a huge improvement over Adobe Premiere. But recently, the latest updates that's come out, for whatever reason, my computer is not happy with. The good news is, when it does crash, I don't lose any work. Where with Adobe, I was losing a ton of work, and it was very, very frustrating. So it's an improvement. It seems to me that it's the highly compressed files that it's having problems with. So if you're shooting an MP4, things like that, with my configuration, it struggles. I did some stuff that was in RAW. So the recent videos from back in 2018 that we did the lost episodes on, it edited really well with those. So I'm looking at maybe changing the file format that I'm recording in to maybe help the program. But yeah, it's very frustrating. I'm biting my tongue right now because I've been, it's like being a truck driver and having a truck that breaks down every 15, 20 minutes. That would get very frustrating. And I'm a video editor, and this thing is crashing on me constantly, and so it's very frustrating. So yeah, I'm still working towards a better resolution on that at this point. Some of these questions we've already answered. I'm going to jump into this one right here. This is a great one from Yoshi. This might be a silly question. When on the road do you carry serum shot for snake poison? I'm originally from Japan. I've had a bad experience with poison snake when I was a kid. What kind of first aid kit do you have in silver? We did a lot of research on snakes, especially being here in the Southwest where, western diamondbacks are prevalent along with Mojaves and things like that, prairie rattlers. And long story short, after all the videos and the research that I did, we just determined that the best thing that you can do for poisonous snake bite here in the States, and people are welcome to argue this if you like down in the comments, is stay calm and get to help as quickly as possible. There are kits out there that try and suck the poison out. There's even people who say, cut the X's on it like in the cowboy movies and suck the poison out, which puts it in the mouth of the guy trying to save someone, which can also infect them quite seriously. So the main thing is just to stay calm, keep the heart rate down, get that person to help as quickly and safely as possible. And that's the route that we've chosen to take. The death rate for rattlesnake bites isn't crazy high. So, just be situationally aware and stay calm if you do get bit. How do you communicate with other drivers when you go on a trail with multiple other vehicles? I prefer to use the ham radio because especially if you're in a flat area, talking point to point on simplex, I think we've talked 40 plus miles before, which is really handy. Like if you're down in Death Valley, talking from one end of Saline to the other is really nice. But we do have a CB, so there's occasionally people that we run into that we travel with. That's just what they have, and so we're able to click on the CB. No big deal. And here I was bragging on the DJI Osmos, and now they're all freaking out on us today. All right, question from Tim Lunn over in the UK. Trying to remember if I asked this question before. What do you think the future of vehicle-dependent overlanding looks like in 5 to 10 years? Will hybrid and electric vehicles make it more difficult or maybe easier? Is the added complexity a risk for remote area travel? I'm trying to ignore the COVID-19 issue, but I'm guessing that is likely to have a huge impact for years to come. We've had several people ask us about the concept of using electric-driven vehicles for overland travel, and I still say that we're quite a ways away. 5 to 10 years, you might begin to see
some
options. Really, what has to happen is better battery technology along with solar cell technology. And once those come leaps and bounds from where they are, you might be able to travel 500 miles, pop your solar panels out, get up the next morning and do it again. There's been a lot of advancements on the scientific side of the development for both batteries and solar panels, but it's how to get that to production and how to make it in a way that's affordable for other people. So it's coming. It's eventually coming, but it's just not there yet. I would love to have. Could you imagine having the torque of 4 electrical motors on each wheel with the A-track technology or similar anti-slip technology that comes with some of these vehicles? That would just be, you'd be unstoppable, to be honest with you. So that would be really fun. I'd like to try it. Question from Darren Pemberton. Ever see a Bigfoot out there?
No.
Well, we didn't see him, but we did have that one instance up in Canada where I had a hot breath blow in the tent on me. And we're speculating it was a grizzly bear just
We are not
sniffing
speculating
around.
anything. I don't know why you keep on insisting that's a we situation. That is a purely you, man.
When I say we, I mean Lifestyle Overland, which is we.
No, that's
Yeah.
you.
So, yeah, still, the debate is still on what that was that blew a blast of hot air across my arm.
As you were falling asleep.
I wasn't asleep, though. Anyhow. But he also asked, what's one question you wish you would have asked yourself prior to taking on this whole thing, the whole adventure and all that? Are you crazy? We asked that question, though, didn't we?
Yeah. I don't know. Because I feel like things are always subject to change and evolve. So it's not like I could say, ask, past Sarah, like, are you sure you're as committed as Kevin wants you to be? No, just kidding. Because I'm going to have times where I will have more time and be more committed and be more available. And then there's going to be other times where I'm not.
Yeah.
And that's fine either way. So I don't know. I don't think I have a question that.
I think we're definitely overthinkers anyhow. And so we asked ourselves.
We definitely overanalyze.
There probably wasn't any questions that we didn't cover, to be honest with you. So
that's a good question, though.
it is. Yeah, I've been thinking about that for a while, and I don't know that I have another question on top of that. Maybe the one question that I should have asked was, what will we do in the long term if this is successful? Because I don't think I felt at the time that there was a high level of confidence that it was going to turn into what it is now.
Yeah, I think we were pretty sure that, if worse comes to worse, this was an awesome trip up north. Yeah. And at best, it'll somehow be a job.
So I guess the one question you can ask yourself if you're in the same position is, what are you going to do if it takes off?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we didn't do.
Do you want to sustain that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Patron James Gunther, I'm getting a rooftop tent very soon and was wondering what tips and tricks you have to make the tent last a long time. Pretty simple, just
don't put it away wet.
Yeah, that's really the main thing.
Or if you do, try to get it open as quickly as possible.
Yeah, you can pack down a tent completely soaking wet as long as you open it back up within a few hours. If you're driving along and all of a sudden the sun comes out and
stop for lunch.
Stop for lunch, pop that puppy open and dry it out. Or if you do get home, maybe it rains for 5 days after that. As long as it stays cool and the sun doesn't hit it, you're probably okay. We've done that before.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely get that thing opened up as soon as possible. And even if it is pouring down the rain, I would say after a couple of days, open it up and just
let it rain on it.
Just let it rain on it and refresh what's probably starting to grow there.
Or wash off, you mean?
Yeah, wash it off.
So what about not Scotch Brite, but should you put any kind of extra spray on it after it ages a little bit?
Yeah, so UV rays will start to break down that water repellent that's been sprayed on there. So I think it was about a year from the time that we started using the last Sydney that we had. I took the rain fly off and really gave it a nice coat of tent waterproofing, and then also on the fabric for the tent as well, top to bottom, not inside, just top to bottom.
Yeah.
And it made a big difference because what was happening, even though it was still waterproof, you would see a bit of absorption on the outer layer of the fabric, and that would make it take much longer to dry out.
Yeah.
So if you start seeing that, if you see some absorption into either the rain fly or the sidewalls, it's probably time to clean it real good, wash it off, dry it out, and then put a coating of the waterproofing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the main thing. Even if it's in storage, if it's in storage outside, let's say you haven't opened it up in 2 or 3 weeks, or 2 or 3 months. Let's be generous. 2 or 3 months. If you're in a high humidity area, it might not be a bad idea to open it up ever so often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. Obviously, don't open it up in 80 plus mile an hour winds with the rain fly on, or it might rip it off. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got.
I think so.
Patron Andrew Neely. Kevin, did you ever find out more info on your potential pioneer relative or ancestor that you read about in the museum located along the Dempster Highway? So that was Jack McHouston, and we did find there was a book that was written about him by another McHouston, and so we've been doing a bit of research on his history along with the family history and its association up in that area, and it's quite an incredible story. And I will be honest with you, I'm surprised that no one's made a movie about this guy, because he truly was the father of the Yukon. He was the one that set up all of the trading posts and stuff that helped make it into what it is today. He was there before the gold rush ever even started. And so one of my dreams is to retrace his steps and tell his story through cinematography. My brothers and I have been infatuated with his stories for a while now, and they're all creative types as well. And so one day, who knows, at some point we would love to retrace his steps and go back up to the Yukon and tell his story in a way that does it justice. So, yeah.
That'd be cool.
It's very cool. All right. Passing off the questions to Sarah now.
Okay. Patty Leeton. Is that how you say your last name? Leeton?
You're asking the wrong person.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Lifestyle, thanks for the opportunity to pose several questions. Let's assume you continue this lifestyle through Caroline's teens. Have you thought about any changes to your sleeping arrangements? I mean, I would probably put the annex on the bottom and let her have a little cot down there if she wanted to, but I guess we could put a tent on the vehicle.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is eventually just give her her own little tent that she can pop up. Yeah.
That might be cute. She probably would like that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm still thinking of
you're
her.
Thinking like next year.
I know. I'm like, I don't want her to be a teenager yet.
Yeah, if we're still traveling, 5, 6, 7 years from now.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep that conversation open and let her, whatever she's comfortable with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep going forward with that.
Yeah. So teenagers, definitely.
Yeah.
She'll have her own tent.
She'll have her space. She
her own rig, honestly. She'll be driving.
She'll be driving that by the time she's 16, for sure.
14.
Well, you have to be legal. If you were to leave the turtle behind for a trip, how would you kit out the rig you take with you? I assume that you'd move the RTT, but how about the kitchen, water, battery system, etc.?
We've talked about this, and we kind of headed down the preparations for that with Silver back when there was a time where we were looking at selling the Turtleback because of the RV issues. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of had a plan in mind at that point. The big thing is it would be a quick and easy transition because we already have some of the camping gear that we need to get us there. Mm-hmm. Water would be
the biggest thing,
the biggest challenge, and
the biggest weight.
We were in the process of coming up with a plan to put a water tank where now our long range tank is located, and so that would probably be one of the first things that I would look into is being able to carry a minimum of 8 or 9 gallons. I would prefer. I'm spoiled by the Turtleback having 42. But I would love to have plenty of water on board so that we can go into the desert areas that we like and be confident in our ability to sustain ourselves there.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it because, like I said, it would just be a matter of transitioning a lot of things out of the Turtleback over to the 4Runner. Propane would be another thing. In the past, we've carried a 20-pound on its side up top, but there's actually some more purpose-built tanks that I was looking at adding on to the bumper, making a mount for the bumper that was it's about 8 inches in diameter, but 26 inches tall, and I think that was about a 11-pound tank. And so there's little tweaks like that to try and bring our size down. Things like our chairs. These are big, heavy, comfortable chairs, but we probably go to something ultralight. I forget the name of the company eludes me right now, but there's some chairs. They're expensive, but I think they're
They
like
pack down so small.
titanium rods, and they all snap together and super compact
Yeah.
when not in use. So when you go to a single rig, it becomes weight and space. So we would probably take some of the things that are bulkier items and try and reduce their weight and overall size.
Yeah, one of my hopes and intentions for the GX is that I really want it to be a quick little weekend vehicle. So, I'll have a smaller fridge in the back of mine, in the back of the GX, but then also be able to have to where the storage system or a fold down table would be compatible to be able to cook out of the back of it as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of always been one of my desires, is to have a vehicle that we don't have to take the turtleback trailer if we don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've been pricing out several mods to my rig, which is a 2004 GX 470, but I can't make up my mind on where to start. The challenge for me is the cost to do everything I would like to do. What do you think is an absolute must mod or mods for a stock four-wheel drive rig?
Well, I'll say the same thing I tell everyone that's getting into this. Don't overthink all the gear that's out there. It can definitely be overwhelming. The main thing that you need to do for the rig specifically, quality tires and sliders. If you already have factory skid plates, then you might forego those for a while, especially
Just like we have.
especially if you're doing more mild off-roading. So that makes it very affordable to get into if you already have a solid rig, very capable rig. Those are the things that I would focus on. And then from there, I would make sure that you've got a winch would be a big help. Traction mats before that even, just because you can get out of a lot of situations with having, a Max Trax or something like that on board. So very staged approach. You will quickly identify
What
weak
you need.
points in your build with time and experience. So the main thing is to get out there and start trying and traveling and figuring out what that next piece is going to be. Obviously, before you spend any money on that kind of stuff, first aid kits, emergency communications, the Garmin inReach has been a staple in our kit, just to be able to check in with family and have that SOS button available if, crap does hit the fan and you need to call the cavalry to come save you. You have that opportunity. Safety first, and then start with the basics on your rig.
Have you considered a consulting practice for helping people build out their rigs? Perhaps not performing the actual work, but speccing out the gear. There are so many options.
That's a really great question.
I feel like that'd be a fun job. Like, you're basically somebody's personal shopper.
Well, and I've done quite a bit of that. Maybe not from start to finish, but quite a few people have reached out on getting ideas, especially when it comes to electrical systems, just because that is kind of my background. That would be really fun. That might be another future or future income stream that we might have to consider. So if you or someone would be interested in someone helping them develop their overall build, let us know in the comments.
Okay, this question's for me. Sarah, have you thought about competing in any overland driving competitions like the Rebel Rally? I have considered it, and I've toyed with it, but I have not committed to it yet. I'll just sure, maybe.
We had some pretty serious conversations about the Rebel Rally. We've had actually some people offer to sponsor her in the race. Right now specifically is just family timing with you trying to finish up your degree and stuff like that. We weren't sure how this was all going to shake out, and then COVID just dropped that in the bucket. So
maybe next year, I don't know. Maybe eventually. I'm not opposed to it. There's a lot I need to learn to do the Rebel Rally, because that's all paper and compass work, no digital. So I would need to learn. It's
like becoming a Amish overlander.
I like my technology. Okay. I love the Overland style online store. Any thoughts to expanding to other branded gear, such as partnering with a knife company for a lifestyle Overland branded knife or any other gear beyond clothes and patches?
Great question. We're always thinking.
Kevin is always thinking.
And we've got some pretty exciting things planned for overlandstyle.com.
Yes.
So thank you for the opportunity to plug that one more time.
Oh, that's www.overlandstyle.com.
So the soft goods is definitely step one. We have had a lifestyle overland knife that we did a collaboration with 3DK Knives up in Alaska with, and that's coming back. We're in the process of figuring out the next phase and getting some of those cool hard goods and custom goods coming in the door. But I've got a list as long as my arm.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I only have so many hours in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just kind of working on the priorities right now. And the main priority, the main goal of that platform is to get all these creators a way to get merch to their viewers and also give them another stream of income to help them do what they do. So that's phase one. You just stay tuned. There's some pretty cool stuff that we got planned for phase 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on.
Yeah. Okay, Michael Suarez. I'm trying to plan a trip to New Mexico and would appreciate some input. We have a fifth wheel and want to do overlanding in 1 to 2 night intervals, returning to camper as needed. What would be a good central location in New Mexico to explore from? By the way, he's coming from Florida.
Especially with the temperatures getting warmer and warmer, I would definitely look in the northern New Mexico area. Eagle Nest, New Mexico, Angel Fire, New Mexico, Taos. Those are all really, really great places to start. Still remote enough that you're not in the crowds, but not so remote that you can't get supplies. And I think there's quite a few RV places up there. But with more and more people heading outside, with typical vacations being canceled and events being canceled, people are rushing to the RV dealerships right now. And they're loading up to go camping and do their own fun social distancing. So start planning sooner than later, and you may need to look into reservations pretty quick.
Jeff Hudson is asking questions for Q&A. After this is over, do you have any plans for a long-term trip like the Alaska trip?
Well, we've already kind of got one in the works right now. Just being realistic, I don't think the international travels are going to work out at this point.
For 2020,
For 2020. So our dream at this point is to kind of go back up into Canada. Take our time, obviously, let the warm weather push us north again, and then spend some significant time in the BC area. But I think it would be really cool to traverse Canada from west to east as far north as we can stay, and work our way over to the eastern seaboard. That's always been in the back of my mind, just because we got to see just a taste of Canada with that first pass through, and it was like, oh man, let's get back up there. So
definitely. Yeah. Pierre Cote says, do you plan to come in eastern Canada?
There you go.
There you go. Yes, we do. What do you have? Comms from Don McClure. He's asking about comms. What do you have versus what do you use, and how is the WeBoost?
So for communications, we primarily use, and I already covered this, the ham radio when absolutely possible. I recommend everyone get your ham radio license, get a decent mobile unit in your rig with an external antenna. We can all talk. It's good times. It makes it really simple on the trail. The other piece of that, again, satellite texting is big for emergency communications, letting people know you're okay. The WeBoost antenna, long story. And so right now, I would say that, it's absolutely an incredible device, especially in flatter land where you have weak signal. The thing is it can't create signal. So especially if you live in a mountainous region where you're either on or off when it comes to signal, might not benefit you as much. And it's an expensive device, so weigh those things out. It wouldn't be the first thing that I buy. If you're someone who wants to travel and work, or travel and post to social media or things like that, it's an added nice thing to have, but don't rely on it as your primary form of communication.
Okay. Craig W. has another question. He's asking, I would love to know more about what worked and didn't work on your trip north, specifically mosquitoes and bears. Was that a gazelle screen tent you used? Did it hold up? He said they're planning on heading up there hopefully this summer.
The gazelle tent was like when
that thing was amazing.
It set up in under 60 seconds. It folded down in about 2.5 minutes. There were times where even with spray and head net and all these things, the bugs just kept coming, because sometimes it's not mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bug that whatever
it was,
repellent
hatched.
you're trying to use isn't working. And so just being able to go to a safe space was huge.
Yeah.
So highly recommend that.
That, and what also worked too, because you pop it up, well, you've trapped some bugs in there, so what did we use to chase them out?
Yeah, so we use that in conjunction with the thermocells, the type that screw onto the small propane tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Those worked really well. They were a bit frustrating at higher elevations, just because there's jetting and stuff that goes into that. But for the most part, those were lifesavers.
Yeah, they were lifesavers.
They just take about 20 minutes to really set up a perimeter.
Yeah, so usually what we did is we would set them out and light them and set up a perimeter. And then, while we were finishing setting up everything else, by that time, usually the gazelle tent, if we had it propped open, was empty. We would zip it up and then start cooking and go from there.
It's a great tent to have.
It really was very nice, yeah. But definitely, make sure you have the face nets, at least for sure. And, high DEET, as bad as that sounds.
There's a lot of people who come down hard on the DEET and products that have the DEET in it. We have a very close friend who is a dermatologist, and she approves of the DEET.
Yep, she does.
So, and she's not sponsored.
But we love her. Jenny Piper is asking, I know you guys got a different trash can for the back after the Trasharoo. How is it holding up?
So I believe that one is the Explorer Expedition Outfitters, and it's been a great bag. We're on the second one right now. I would say it is a step above the Trasharoo for sure, but it's not perfect. It's still a canvas device being subjected to dust, dirt, and UV rays, so it's going to degrade over time, especially if you're using it often. So any of those that you choose, if you're not going to be using them, bring them inside. Wash them out, dry them out, put them back inside. I've not found the perfect trash bag yet. The problem is that as you move into the higher end fabrics, they get exponentially more expensive, as I'm sure you've seen with some of the brands that are out there now. You just have to decide what's it worth to you. You're going to start with a $40 Trasharoo and just acknowledge the fact that after 8 to 10 months of use, it's going to start coming apart. We've actually found Trasharoos on the trail.
Yeah.
So kind of counterintuitive at that point. I'm not impressed with the product. There's a lot of other people that have strong opinions about the Trasharoo, and we've got another trash bag that we're getting ready to test right now, and we'll give you some more feedback on some more options going forward. But for right now, we're very pleased with the one that we've been using.
Okay, so Eric Max says he has a stupid newbie question, but I was raised that there is no such thing as a stupid question.
There's not.
Okay. He says, I see some trails out west that are very narrow with no chance of two vehicles passing each other. No close pull-offs, mountainside uphill, and death plunge valley downhill. What happens when a rig comes the other direction and you're pulling a trailer? Or what if they have a trailer too? I've seen videos of trailers where I wouldn't want to back up a trailer for a half mile. What do you do?
That's a really good question. And so typically uphill traffic has the right of way on these trails out here. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the uphill traffic may have a closer pull off. Sometimes the uphill traffic isn't towing a trailer, and it's much more difficult to back a trailer uphill than it is to back a single vehicle uphill. So really, it's just a matter of the situation. And I would say in the worst case scenario where you have two trailers coming at each other, maybe the other driver gets out and assists the other person out of the situation. So the trailer that is traveling uphill would then be backed downhill until a place could be found to get around each other. And this goes back, and I think I responded on Patreon to this just to encourage him that if you're not comfortable towing a trailer and you don't have a lot of experience towing a trailer, get out in a parking lot somewhere and start backing that thing up. Pick a spot that you want to put that thing in and just start practicing getting those
the quick response to
just to work on your instinct as to which way you need to turn the wheel, because the more comfortable you are in a controlled environment, the more successful you're going to be in a situation where you're white knuckled on the side of a shelf road. So that's definitely a big part of it, is practice with those trailers, especially if you didn't grow up towing them on the farm like I did.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of second nature for Sarah and I to some degree.
No, not me. I never drove the horse trailers.
Well, I stand corrected then.
Yeah. So I didn't really
I'm much more impressed with you now.
I didn't really start backing up trailers until you started making me back up the turtle back.
Wow.
So so what I always tell other women who are like, I'll drive our vehicle with the trailer, but I don't back it up. And I'm like, back it up. You can do it. So slow and steady is the key.
Yeah.
Once you start trying to do it quickly, no, it never turns out well for me.
Yeah.
So my advice is always slow and steady, and like Kevin said, just practice it.
That's it.
For sure.
That's it.
Dave Border. He says, I would like to hear more about your sleeping pad. Love my 23-0 Byron, and Justin is way cool, but as a 6'2", 225 side sleeping man, it's very hard on the shoulders and hips. What does a family of 3 do?
6'3", 208 as of this morning. Also a side sleeper. You know, it's always a trade-off. And, you know, it's interesting because people who bought tents a year, 2 years ago before 23-0 introduced their high-density foam would complain about sinking too quickly. Actually, it's been longer than that. It's been 3 or 4 years. The first tent we started with was a CVT Pioneer series. It was a 2-inch mattress. It was a very standard foam mattress, but you were sleeping on the deck.
Yeah.
And it was especially hard if it was super cold outside and that cold was radiating up through the floor. And so that's why we went to the 23-0, was it had the thicker 3-inch high-density foam mattress. Since then, and this might be partially our fault, after we spent over 200 nights in our tent, eventually, as foam does, began to break down. And so Justin's like, well, all right, then we'll make it even better. And so we made it even more dense, which I love.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't like a firm mattress. And so it's always a trade-off. There's no perfect balance between all of those things. And so we recommend for people who like a plusher sleeping platform, maybe you go and get a 1 or a 2-inch pillow top, something that compresses easily, because you don't want to reduce the ability to store blankets and pillows up there too much. So yeah, you just kind of gotta.
It's really, what's the word I'm looking for? Trial and error.
It's really trial and error, and you can go, and we did this recently. If you go on Amazon trying to find a mattress, none of them have 5 stars unless, you know, they've got 4 reviews on them. There's no perfect mattress. You can't make one mattress that fits everyone's sleeping style. And so you might have to customize your sleeping experience a little bit. Yep. It's just the way it is.
Just the way it is. Can't have it all. John Bishop. Okay, he has a logistics questions. He says, not having a whole lot of experience with cooking while camping, how do you wash the dishes, etc., without using a crap ton of water? Not all of us have the luxury of 40-some gallons of water. That's true. So even with the 42 gallons of water, I was always very conscious about, like, I would fill it maybe 2 or 3 inches of water in my sink and wash with that. Also, another key factor was I put a collapsible bin underneath the drain pipe and would catch the old water. So if we were staying somewhere for a couple days, I would actually pre-soak the dishes in that water
Mm-hmm.
and kind of reduce, reuse, recycle. And so I would, if I made something macaroni and cheese and something was going to be sticky while I was washing all the other dishes, I would soak that in the other water from the dishes that I had done before. So,
Well, even before that, back when we were using what was called a water brick, we had 4 water bricks. They were 3.5 gallon. They looked like concrete blocks almost, but they kind of interlocked with each other. That's what we would camp with.
mm-hmm.
And we had the collapsible bins. And so, like what she's saying, you'd fill up one of them halfway with hot soapy water, and then you would just wash each one of your dishes and set them aside, pour fresh water in another bin, and then dip
And
the
dunk
dishes
and
in.
rinse.
So you just have to get creative at that point. And when you're done, now you've got a soapy bin and you've got a clean water bin. Combine the two, set it down somewhere so that when you have another meal, immediately put your cookware into that water. And now that becomes your soaking bin.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of start the process again, and it reduces how much water that you actually have to use.
Yeah. A question from Chase Cruz. With your first aid kit, when you open it, what items do you have that you do not know how to use?
Yeah, this is a really good question, kind of a convicting question too, because for many years I was required to have CPR and first aid training for my occupation, and so it was kind of ingrained in me, and I've always enjoyed first aid. So there's a lot of things in there I definitely know how to use, but I will say, techniques change over time, and so and people get rusty. Like, I definitely wouldn't be as efficient at it now as I was 5 years ago. So it's probably something that I need to get back into. And our first aid kits are definitely due a refresh.
Yeah,
I think our primary
pretty
one
old.
is probably 5 years old at this point. And so it's a great question. It's a great reminder. It's something I need to dig back into.
What items do you wish you would have had on the trail that you didn't? More Tums?
Yeah. Heartburn can ruin a trip, along with diarrhea and allergies. So I would say this is more advice than it is me complaining about something I didn't have. But don't just bring a first aid kit. Bring some over-the-counter medicines for your generic aches and pains and ailments.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't think I ever found myself missing something
No,
while we were on the trail full time.
I don't think so either.
I've a product that we've added to the kit now that I'm in love with, absolutely in love with, is our USB powered fans.
Oh, yeah.
Because especially this time of year in New Mexico, it's really warm, and then it like shuts off. So you have these big temperature swings, and sometimes you want to have a bit of fan up there in the tent until you get down to those cooler temps.
Mm-hmm.
And these things are fairly inexpensive on Amazon, and you can run them off your battery. But now we have some of these battery packs like this one right here that I'm running our sound system on right now. That'll run one of those fans up in your tent for quite a while. So yeah, it's a cool little product.
Okay. Yaniv Eliash. Apparently, I'm pretty bad at pronouncing names too. While traveling long expeditions like the one to the Arctic Circle, do you keep on homeschooling for Caroline? In general, what would be the extra toil when traveling with young kids? Yes, I did homeschool Caroline while we were traveling full time. She was in kindergarten, so that was easy enough. And I just did just a curriculum that it was a faith-based curriculum that I had chosen, but it was easy enough that we were able to do a couple pages, but also you don't realize sometimes how much you're really teaching your kid by just day-to-day life. Like we'd be driving down the road and Kevin would go, "Caroline, what's 1 + 1? 2. What's 2 + 2? 4? And we
Yeah.
would quiz her
Just
on
make
her
it fun.
ABCs.
Mhm.
And, we'd be like, hey, can you read that sign? Or can you find the and in that sentence, to help practice sight words? So it's realizing that you're already teaching your kids a lot by daily life, but it's also recognizing when it's a good learning opportunity as well. So it takes a little practice if your mindset isn't naturally there, or you don't have confidence in that.
Mm.
But and it's not always easy, no.
Yeah.
um
As many people are
are
learning
learning
now,
now
as the world has
with the
jumped
Zoom
right into
calls and
homeschooling at this point.
yes, exactly. So when and if we do another big trip and it's during the school year, you better believe we'll be taking something along with us.
Yep, that was our plan for international travel. Was we're just going to switch back to homeschooling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Okay. So now we're moving on to Instagram questions, so I don't have to do the handles.
Yeah, dude, they probably want the mentions.
I figured as much.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mag R&R, how are you able to travel almost full time? Do you own your own businesses?
Yes. Number one, and we actually just did a podcast on this. What was it, last week, where we talked about our lifestyle change to more of a minimalist. We like to call it intentionalist footprint. Has reduced our expenses to the point that we don't need that much income to move forward into travel like we did. In the meantime, we developed a lot of tiny income streams through a lot of different processes, and that's really how we've kept this whole thing going. But by far the biggest thing has been the patron support that has come in, because YouTube is very unpredictable. Amazon affiliate links, like if we share something that's on Amazon, generally we would get a commission on that. That's been cut in half now on a lot of categories. So the key is having a lot of different multiple income streams, and a big piece of that is our social media management business that we run, where we're involved with several outdoor and overland community companies, just managing their social media and handling that for them as well. That's been a big piece of it. And then obviously the merchandise, once we got that store up and running several years ago, has been a big piece of how we make all this happen. And then the final set would be affiliate programs. So if you use one of our Gaia GPS discounts, we get a small commission from that. If you buy tools from tecton.com using the links that we share, we get a small commission off of that. And it's not necessarily big money. It might be $40 this month or $80 this month. It's a tank of gas. It's a grocery stop. It's having all those little different pieces, and the more you can make those income streams passive, so it's just a discount code that floats out there. Things like that are really important to a creator. So if there's a product that we love and we are willing to represent, we usually go to these companies and we say, would you be willing to give our viewers a discount code and then give us a small piece of that? And then it's win-win-win for everyone. And that's been really successful. It's another piece of what we do.
Yeah. Okay. So this is from ZEKE. How do you like the fuel nitros? I wanted to get a set for my Tacoma, but thought they'd be a pain to clean because of all the little holes around the outside.
That's a good question. Well, you don't wash your car, so.
Nope.
Yeah, I definitely thought about that when we got those, but I'll be honest with you guys, we don't wash these vehicles very often.
No.
And I know a lot of people cringe at that. I was the guy growing up that I was waxing every weekend. Every scratch was buffed out. When you start doing this, it changes your focus mechanically, maintenance-wise. Is everything ready to go? That's the main focus. And honestly,
now if we have serious mud that we think is going to eat into the paint or something, yes, we will wash that off.
Sure. When I say wash, I mean like a real wash and detail job kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to let a lot of these different types of dirt sit on your vehicle for very
too
long. So
yeah.
But no, we don't. We're not too concerned about that. They look cool.
They do look cool. Okay. Jason KN88. How many miles do you try to go a day on a trip? Is there a method you use to calculate the amount of days a certain trip will take? So in traveling up north, at first, because we felt like we were behind, we were running and gunning it. So there was not necessarily, well, we did try to, I guess, meet a quota. But once we finally got there and saw what we wanted to, all right, birds.
These birds are going
We decided that we were exhausted by too many hours or too many miles. And so we ended up switching it to about 6 hours or how many miles?
250.
Yeah, we would either do 6 hours or 250 miles.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We did, honestly, like, we weren't too concerned about how far we traveled. We didn't plan, we need to be to this place by this date. And that was a luxury for us being full time. If we didn't want to travel, we didn't have to travel. Much different situation for people who are taking vacation time and they want to know. And a popular question is, how long does it take to travel the Enchanted Rockies Trail? Well, we took 10 days, but we've talked to friends who've done it, all of it in 5 days. And that's,
right.
It's booking it. That's getting up early. It's traveling. It's, stopping at dark. So plan a trip that allows you to travel the speed that you can enjoy it. If especially if you're bringing your family along and just beating and banging down a trail for 10 hours a day, we have done that. It wears you down after a while. So there's you definitely have to find a balance there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Scenic missions. I have the rig, a Prado, and I've done professional video work, love off-road adventure, and live in a very interesting place, Kenya. I just can't convince myself to film trips in that way yet because it seems like it must really slow you down. All that running ahead to set up a camera, running back, driving through the shot, and then back to pick up the camera. My question, do you have any advice or tips on how to film a trip without slowing down the trip too much or ruining the fun of the drive? Get a really great wife or girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or somebody that wants to go with you.
Yeah. I would say right out of the gate, if you don't enjoy filming and you don't enjoy editing, if that's not something that you're interested in, it will cut into your trip. I love it. Like, it
was an adjustment for me.
Yeah. I love getting the shot. It's almost like I'm just hunting. It's almost like hunting. I'm looking for that perfect shot that's just going to tell this story without words. Like, I enjoy that whole process, but it does slow down the trip. And, if you're used to traveling with friends and stuff, it can be annoying to the other parties because it's stop and go and stop and go. So, unless you're really concerned about saving those memories for the future, I would probably recommend you just enjoy the ride.
Yep.
But if that's something that you want to get into, it takes a lot of commitment. But it's worth it because 30 years from now, you can sit down and watch those videos.
It's true. All right. Kyle Tillman Photo is asking, what age was your daughter when you guys started overlanding? Tips and tricks for parents overlanding with young kids. When we first started overlanding with Caroline, she was 15 months old. And at that point in time, we just did a little bit at a time, and we stopped a lot, and we let her out to run around and play. And then as she got a little bit older, then we could do the iPad for a little bit and get a little bit of longer time in the vehicle without as many stops and breaks. And now one thing that I did that I tell a lot of parents to do with, I probably could have even done it when she was 15 months old, is have an activity bag that sits beside them or that you're in control of, that you can, if they say, I'm bored, and you don't want them on digital devices the whole time, all right, get something out of your activity bag and play with it, and I also made the point to kind of put surprises in there. So while we were traveling full time, we'd stop at a Dollar Tree, Dollar World, whatever, or even the dollar section at Target. And I would pick out a new coloring book, a little crafty thing, a new little toy or pencil or crayon set. And that really seemed to entertain her. So whatever your child is into, especially if it's luckily smaller figurines or something like that. Just, having those little surprises or letting them pick specifically, hey, this is your activity bag for when we're on the trail. Choose wisely.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and
true.
go from there.
Yep. Yep.
We get this one asked often.
Yeah.
And I think we're ready to answer this one. And with confidence.
Right.
Okay. AJ4MPR asks, any plans for a second kiddo? Random and personal. You're right, it is. But I'm really curious what changes y'all would make to your setup if a second child is in the game. My second one is due anytime now. This pushed my plans out a bit since having a newborn and a 1-year-old is a handful. First of all, congratulations.
Absolutely.
Super excited that you're adding more to your family. As for us, that is a personal question, but I'm happy to answer it. No, we will not have any more children. We tried and it was not successful for us. So we've just kind of come to the conclusion that we are thankful for what we have and what we got. And we're going to continue moving on with life and living it to our absolute fullest.
Absolutely. And not to criticize that question, but I just want to put this out there as because I see it come through a lot and I know how it affects Sarah. Be cognizant of sometimes we come in with this overly positive idea that anyone can have kids whenever they want, and it can be a very painful subject for people that have gone through traumatic experiences in attempting to have kids. So I think that it's just a gentle reminder to people that when you go and pose those questions to anyone, just be sensitive that they may have already gone down that road. So,
yeah,
this is my 2 cents worth.
Okay, let's lighten up the mood a little bit.
There you go.
How many pounds of bacon do you consume in a year? Most of your videos involve bacon. Well, you know what, Chris Correct? Even though we're not camping, we're still consuming just as much bacon. So pigs, you better look out.
That's right. That's right.
I have no idea how many pounds we consume in a year.
It's
a lot.
We just film an exorbitant amount of bacon footage because it's so sexy. I mean, but generally we're eating relatively healthy, I'd like to think.
Yeah.
I mean, she's pretty health conscious.
I
would
am.
eat bacon every day if I could. She won't let me.
No. One, it's too expensive. All right, Carrie Roberts asks a good question. Please explain the bathroom situation. Best advice for when you are out in areas without public bathrooms. Learn to pee behind a tree.
Yeah.
Learn to dig a hole for
carry
when
a
you gotta
shovel.
poop.
Yeah.
I was not very good at it in the beginning, but now I'm really great at it. And I have found myself coaching other women how to go to the bathroom outside.
Not in person, but
no.
we're going to have a class at Expo West.
How to pee outside or go to the bathroom. I mean, it's not a bad question. I get asked a lot. Like,
I know.
do you really
Yeah.
enjoy going to the bathroom outside? I'm like, it's fine. No, I don't enjoy
do.
it, but it's fine.
I have what's called epic poos. It's when there's an epic view and I can take my seat out and just take my time enjoying the vista.
Yeah. Anyway,
while I take
but to answer for a two-parter on that one, Caroline does not like to go to the bathroom
Number
outside. Yeah. She does not like to go to the bathroom outside. So we do have to carry a little toilet for her so that she at least has something to sit on.
Yeah.
And what is it called?
That is the Clean Waste toilet system. It's in our Amazon store. Anytime you guys got a question about a product, generally if you go down to the video description, you'll find some links that get you out there.
Yeah. Where do you find the music that you use in your videos? Deanna wants to know.
Musicbed.com, artlist.ai, and epidemicsound.com. Those are the 3 primaries. Musicbed obviously has been just absolutely incredible. I would say that having them as a resource is really what took our videos to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Melissa Patrick Holden is asking me a question. She says, were you always 100% on board with the plan to Overland? My hubby really enjoys it and wants to spend more time away. I'm trying to be supportive, but just can't seem to drum up the same level of enthusiasm. No, I was
I
not.
pay her exorbitant amount of money traded in makeup, chocolates,
Wine.
wine, and spa days. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
She's weird.
I am, but no, I'm not always 100% enthusiastic about it. Like I said earlier, for my birthday and our anniversary this year, I've requested that we not go camping to celebrate. But to be honest, we were always looking for something to do as a family, and something that Kevin did that was really smart is he worked really hard to make everything feel convenient
Yeah.
for me in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because I was going camping with a 15-month-old, and that was daunting enough, and so he worked really hard to make sure that the bathroom situation first and foremost was taken care of, that shelter and comfort of sleeping was good.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, I kind of I already enjoyed cooking, and so I just kind of took over that and got creative. And yeah, he came up with ideas and stuff, but dudes, if you really want your lady to go camping with you, you're going to have to work extra hard to make it feel easy and convenient for her. I think is probably really
Absolutely.
the best advice.
Yeah.
Because if he had been like, no, just go pee behind that tree, babe. Get over it. I would not have gone on the next trip.
Yeah. Short, achievable trips.
Yes.
Number one. So that if the weather turns bad or someone gets sick, you can bail out and get back home within a couple of hours so that you haven't created an experience that no one wants to go through again.
Yeah.
And then, a few amenities, hot water, a really nice mattress of some sort, all those little things add up. Privacy room, toilet seat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here's a great question. Lab Matt is asking, where do you see the channel in 5 years?
That's really a difficult question. Personally, I hope that it's continuing on and we're just expanding our adventures. I'd like to see, more international adventures mixed in with it. We've had a lot of discussions about, expanding the storyline. We've got some friends that we've traveled with in the past, and I think it would be interesting at some point to let them take the reins for a bit and go and tell their unique story. There's people who have, 3 or 4 kids. That's a whole nother dynamic that we would like to capture and tell on the channel, as well as solo adventurers, dual sport adventurers. That's always kind of been a dream of mine to expand and tell that story. The difficulty is obviously you connect with us on the channel, and so doing what's called
with these other families?
what's called a pivot, it could be very difficult. So I don't know if that's in the cards or not, but we would love to expand our storytelling to more than just our story at some point, so that if we wanted to take 6 months and not travel, we've got other ideas for even another YouTube channel that we won't get into.
Oh gosh.
But we've got other ideas, and so it would be cool to continue the Overland spirit on the channel, years down the road, and not feel like we have to be rushing every week to get a video put together. So that's kind of what's been on the back of my mind for the long term, to make this thing viable.
Mm-hmm. Harmon78 has a great question. Starbucks or Tim Hortons?
I prefer Sarah McCafe myself.
Okay, if I'm having to pick between the two, here's how it goes. Tim Hortons, because I like their coffee is fine. It's good. But their donuts and pastries and stuff are delicious.
Yeah.
Now, for a latte, I really like Starbucks espresso. So I like their latte-ish espresso drinks. As for their coffee, I do not like Starbucks, just straight up coffee.
That's what I was going to say. I would say that Tim Hortons coffee
and donuts are bomb.
Like classic. Yeah, I'll take that. Specialty drinks, Starbucks, but I've become a bit of a coffee snob anymore, and we're experimenting with all kinds of things here at home. So yeah.
David K is asking, how do you get women interested?
Is that a train?
It sounds like it. How do you get women interested in overlanding or just extended camping? Where can you find these types of women? We got asked this one time in person. Like, he was like, "Where'd you find her?" Kev's like, "Out in the woods."
It wasn't at the mall, ladies and gentlemen.
That is the truth. It was not in a bar.
And honestly, it was literally
in the
woods
at a summer camp.
We met at a summer camp.
You're right.
Yep.
How to get women interested in overlanding? I mean, don't pick a sissy girl. If you want to go camping, don't fall for a sissy girl.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, you know, like I kind of I enjoy my sissy things. I love makeup and hair. Obviously, I'm in cosmetology for a career, but I also enjoy being outside, and I like feeling like I accomplished something. And so, you know, when we travel and do a rough trail or, you know, get somewhere super cool, like that is appealing to me, and I feel accomplished in that. So Kevin just helped cultivate that, I think.
Yeah, and I would say the flip side of that is anyone should try this once or twice.
Yeah.
You know, like I think sometimes we get stuck in our heads, I can't do that. No, I can't work on my vehicle. There's no way I could travel to the Heart of Death Valley. Yeah, you can. Don't just dive in, obviously, but start small, start achievable, and, you know, bring the wife and girlfriend if they're really understanding. Bring your wife or girlfriend and go on an achievable camping trip and just, you know, start small and be okay with it. You know, if that's not their thing, don't push it. It'll only make it worse. Go and enjoy what you can when you can.
Here's a good quick one. Will Kearney wants to know, what are the folding tables that you use?
Oh, yeah. This one is Mountain Summit gear.
And we love it. Like, we have them in our house right now as our bedside tables.
Oh, these flies are getting terrible, y'all.
At least they're bothering you now, not
It went
me.
up my nose.
It was crawling on your mustache earlier. That grossed me out.
Great. I have to cut that out of the video.
I don't know if you can, though.
Yeah. Let's do one more and wrap it up.
Okay, I'm trying to find one more. Bob Campbell, 34, thinking about getting off the ground and into an RTT. When they say 4-person, is it really big enough for 4? And someone else had asked, too, that they're a family of 5 with like a 16-year-old, 11-year-old, a 5-year-old, and then like two parents. He's like, will that really fit a 5-person tent?
We always recommend that whatever size tent you think you need, go one size up if you can afford it and fit it.
Yeah.
The reason for that is there are times where you may just want to hang out in that tent during a rainstorm or a windstorm or bad weather, and having a little bit of extra space is very helpful, especially if you're going to bring clothing or board games or something like that with you. So I highly recommend you go with the biggest tent you can afford and fit. You'll never regret having the extra space. You may regret the extra weight and setup time. So weigh that in the whole process. Just keep in mind, like, if you have older kids, let's say you've got kids that are 10, 12 plus, get a tent that has an annex so you can make a room down at the bottom and put a couple cots down there. That right there is the ticket. You might not have to get the biggest tent out there if you get the annex room that goes down below. Well,
and here's another nice thing about that too. Even if you have little kids, that is a great contained playing area.
Yeah.
Because you can put the flooring down, and then they can just strewn their toys in there, you know, if you're base camping, and then you've got basically a playpen.
Absolutely.
So and that's really nice too.
Maybe you even flip it around. Maybe the adults, if you do have small kids, let's say you have 3 small kids, and you don't want to have 5 people in the tent, maybe you put the 3 small kids up top, and you and the wife put cots down in the bottom. You know, there's a lot of flexibility that comes with having the annex room.
Yeah. I would totally agree. Yeah. Good question to end on, huh?
Great question. Thank you guys so much for all the questions. We tried to get to as many of them as we possibly could. You know, you guys send us messages and comments all the time, and we try to answer as much as possible. I hope that this video has helped cover some of those that we haven't been able to to devote time to. It's just, as you probably have gathered by the end of this video, extremely busy with trying to keep all of this going and all the pieces moving. So really, I hope this video has answered a lot of your questions. If not, post them down below. I'll get to as many of them as I possibly can. And yeah, for those listening at home or in your car on this podcast, I hope you've enjoyed this session. It's been really enjoyable. We're actually outside. We've got to see some sunshine.
So nice.
The birds have been singing. A few flies crawling up the nose. But hey, you know what? That's life outside.
That's exactly right.
All right, guys. We hope you're doing amazing wherever you are. We hope that you're staying sane.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Safe travels.
Good one.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's go edit so we can get this thing posted.
All right.